Well, it's so good to have Mark on the show today. How you doing today, Mark?
Hi, Reverend. How are you doing? You prefer to be
I'm
called
doing
Keith or
good.
prefer to be called Reverend? Rev.
You can call me Keith.
I, uh, I appreciate the work you do with God because I know you have 6 kids. We have 5 kids, and so to me, it's always about faith, family, and service. So
Exactly.
faith is right at the top.
You got it right. I'm looking forward to it, and I love what we're doing because I think it's important, especially in these interesting times, to help people figure out, how to use the resources that God has blessed us with.
I agree.
So I'm going to give you a question to kind of get us kicked off here. Give me the best piece of advice you've ever received.
I think the best piece of advice I ever got was, there's no right way to do the wrong thing. you know, uh, that ultimately, sometimes when they say like the end justifies the means, I intellectually I can understand that, but I think practically and emotionally, you got to do the right thing and have the right intentions every day, and conduct yourself with both excellence and elegance and with high integrity. And that's the way I teach our kids how to do it. That's the way our firm acts, and that's the kind of people I like to be around. People like you.
I like that. That's good. That's good advice there. Mark, I'm always curious, in all of our journeys, there are people in our lives who've come in and out of our lives who have served to inspire us. And I kind of like to ask my guests this question, kind of give them a chance to thank those people. We sometimes forget to think about the people who've impacted. Who are those people in your life that have impacted you?
I mentioned this in something recently. I had, obviously my parents were the great influence on me, but outside of my parents, I had a history teacher in high school named Lloyd Jager. And, as I said, I thought I was a pretty smart guy, reasonably smart guy, but didn't necessarily in school have the same work ethic that I should have. And I thought that I remember one time there was this test where he had some kids that basically worked on it in study hall or the night before, an hour before, on this big project, and gave them a good grade. And I kind of worked harder than that, but not as hard as I should have. And he gave me not a good grade. And the lesson, when I sort of complained a little bit and said how unfair this was, he came back to me and said, "I'm not grading you against the rest of the students. I'm grading you uh, on based on your potential."
Oh, wow.
And from that point forward, it was the one of the best lessons I ever learned in my life, Keith, because it allowed me to not be in competition with anybody else. I was in competition to be the best version of myself. And and the great thing about that is if you're only competing against yourself, then you can be totally present and a cheerleader for everybody else. Because if I have $1, I hope you have 100. If something good happens to me, I hope something great happens to you, because I'm going to do the very best I can and be the best version of me, so I can be totally abundant and totally present and totally there as a great friend to you.
That's an interesting thing because that's really missing, I think, in our society today. We have this new shift in our culture where we're always competing against someone else, and they have to do worse than us for us to feel good about ourselves. If I like what you said, if we focus on competing against ourselves, then we can only cheerlead for everybody else. Otherwise, if we're looking to compete against our neighbor, we always want them not do as well, to maybe fail, or you know we're always playing a comparison game, the keeping up with the Joneses thing. I like that.
Oh, I agree dead on. I think I think there's not enough people that are happy for everybody. I always say if you have a powerful parent, you get half their friends and all their enemies. And sometimes when sometimes when something bad happens to you, I think there's a lot of people that are happy about it. So
Exactly.
and that's not how I choose to live my life.
That's cool. So Mark, tell us about your journey. I'm kind of curious about your path in life.
Um, I was grew up dumb and broke in Suffern, New York, and I was graduating the campus of Indiana University, and the firm I now run offered me $1,000 a month, and I thought it was terrific. I took the job because it was $1,000 a month more than I was making, and I just had decided that there was that I had a formula to be successful in life. The other thing that also happened to me, I was I was a very overweight kid, and I thought I was a pretty good athlete. And I remember in freshman year of high school, where a lot of people make the freshman basketball team. I actually got cut. I was probably about 5'4", about 230 pounds, and I got cut. And I remember that between freshman and sophomore summer, I joined the cross country team and trained with them. And by the time I was a sophomore, I was like 5'9" and 195 pounds, and made the JV team as like the 14th guy on the 14-man team. And by the time I was a senior, I was 6'2" and 165 pounds. I was a point guard on a very good team. And I thought that I got everything out of my high school career. In fact, our center played pro basketball, and the shooting guard won a national championship in football. And there's a lot of like really good athletes there. And I just thought that I just had a formula in life to be able to sit down and say, there's almost nothing I can't accomplish if I'm willing to do what other people aren't doing. In fact, the thing I ask the people that work for me all the time, I always say, I go, Keith, what are you willing to do that you're not doing now to have what you don't have? And that's always been my philosophy and always been my theory. And it just served me really well. And a lot of abundant things have happened just because, I was too foolish or too stupid to know it couldn't be done.
Well, you're in good company. Michael Jordan also got cut from his team, so you can share that with him.
Yeah, I'll take the comparison.
There you go. So you wrote a new book, The Ultimate Investment, and I'm curious about this because we're living in some very interesting times, and I know for people who are trying to navigate their way through finance and money in this very crazy time, there's a lot of, I get bad advice out there. Like I hear every day from commercials, because of the debt, go out and buy gold. And so people are, trying to figure out, what do I do with my money with this high inflation, the devaluing of the dollar. Just saw that they're meeting overseas with companies talking about trying to maybe replace the dollar as a national currency. So walk us through, if you're someone who's new to investing, give us kind of, like you said, the ultimate investment piece of advice for us in this crazy time.
Well, here's what I say when people say those things to me, or there's clearly a recession coming, whether it be mild or severe, I don't know. And it's possible it could not happen, but it's highly likely, I think probable. But I think I would choose not to participate in the recession. When people say to me, "Oh my God, if Donald Trump gets reelected, the world's going to come to an end," or if Joe Biden gets reelected, or somebody else gets elected, the world is coming to an end. And I go back, and it's about emotional fitness to me. Ultimately, if there's a recession, there's going to be opportunities. Great wealth is created, Keith, not in boom times, but in recessions. So people should not only not participate in it, but they should be prepared to see what comes. And, maybe there's real estate that's on sale. Maybe there's stocks that are on sale. Maybe there are things that are there if you're properly prepared for it. And so what I've always believed is that you need to have an entrepreneurial mindset. That the best investments entrepreneurial thinking people have is when they invest in themselves. And so if you only had $1 to invest and you own a business, I'd like you to put that dollar into your money machine first. I'd like you to have cash confidence first, enough cash behind you so that where the opportunity presents itself, you have the ability to take advantage of it. Or if there's some emergencies or some downturn or something, you have enough cash to withstand the downturn. But ultimately, I want you to invest in yourself. And you'll say, well, not everybody on your podcast owns a business, but it's really a mindset. Do I need some more training to get to the next job that I have? Do I need to learn how to be a better public speaker? Do I need to build my database? Do I need to develop some other leadership or other skill so that I'm prepared for that next opportunity that comes my way? And so it's more of a mindset than everybody else, than anything else. And I think the idea is that rather than to say, hey, you and I on this podcast can't do anything. You mentioned that if the dollar is no longer the world currency. Now, I hope you're wrong. I hope that's exaggerated. But you and I are not going to be able to control whether the dollar is the world currency or not. But we can control how we think. We can control the actions that we can take. And I think if we are not reactive but proactive in our life, and we surround ourselves with the right financial advice and financial advisors and the right team, we're going to always wind up on top. And that's why I thought it was important that we write this book, because the ultimate investment is the best investments entrepreneurs make is when they invest in themselves.
Best in yourself part I can tell is from your story. And I love it because it goes back to that the history of Fest you said, I'm grading you on your potential. And so you can see your journey has led you to here. So what was that pivotal moment, that shift in your mindset that got you to invest in yourself? I'm just curious.
What I started to realize is that I had a very successful business. It was around my ability to attract clients and money and the opportunity. But I realized I was still trading time for dollars. I didn't have a business. I bought myself a very good paying job. And so ultimately I realized that I had to have my money work when I was sleeping. And I had to get paid for what I knew, not what I did. And I think that's the essence. The other thing I also at the same time started to think is I started to think of, there was only three things you could do in life. There were things that you were terrible at. It was easy for me to delegate the stuff, and I think it's easy for you to delegate the stuff you're bad at. But there was a lot of stuff that I was good at, competent at, maybe even even very good at it. But I needed to get rid of some of that and delegate that to other people, so that I would be able to free up time for things I was great at, to free up time to spend more time in my unique ability, and then to hire other people that the things that I was either good at or poor at was their unique ability. And we started, because remember, if we had everybody that had my skill set, we'd be out of business. I make promises all day. I'm very, very big picture. I like to surround myself with people who like to dot every I and cross every T, because if I make a promise, it has to happen. It just may not be me that executes that promise. And so, ultimately you start to see that. And then as you evolve more, and I put this in the book some, is that ultimately you have to surround yourself not just with good people, but you have to have people that have your core values. You have to create culture. One bad apple can spoil the whole bunch. And the idea is you've got to be very protective of your culture. And so we spend a lot of time, building culture, making sure we've got the right people in the organization. And I think it's working when people want to bring their family, they want to bring their friends, they want to bring their relatives, their neighbors into your business. And I think it's really working when people start seeking you out. You're no longer the hunter, you become the hunted, where people not only want to come work with you, but they want to come work for you. And so, that's the nirvana piece, and that's the piece that happens from us from time to time. We want to make sure it happens all the time.
So let me go back a little bit, because I love what you're saying, but people are listening to this podcast going, that sounds really good. How do I start to invest in myself? What are the questions I have to ask myself to make that same mindset shift that you made?
The reason I start with cash confidence is you have to have enough cash to be able to invest in yourself. You have to have enough cash to be able to withstand something. And by the way, it doesn't have to be millions of dollars. It's just enough to tide you over so that you can't go out of business and wait for that investment to come. But it's very clear to me, there's of the concept of there's either expenses or there's an investment. So when I sit down and advise a business owner, or I advise somebody, if it's an expense, you're always on the chopping block. If it's an investment, I'm willing to make almost unlimited investments, Keith, as long as I can get at least a 4 or 5 to 1 return on my money or more. And so the idea is that what you would do is I would sit down, if I were a business owner, and I would try to see it through that prism.
That's good. So as we talk about this shift in our life and in our culture, what are some key things that someone who's starting out in this process, starting out with a business, what are some do's and what are some don'ts that we want to avoid?
Well, we can tell. Let's start here. Let's start with the don'ts, then we'll get to the do's. I think the don'ts are, you got to start with no blaming, no complaining, no excuses. If you want to see a group, if you want to see two people, a successful group and a less successful group, the more successful group doesn't blame, complain, or make excuses. The other thing you also have to do is it's about mindset a lot. And I think the idea is that you have to have the mindset that I never learn much from my successes. the great growth I've had in my life were from failure. And so I think when you have an entrepreneurial mindset, you have to be able to take risks enough that you can expect some targeted strategic failure. And I think the mindset you have to have is that when you fail at something, it's not failure, it's one step closer to success. That I would not have, if I didn't try things that failed in my life, I wouldn't have done other things that helped make us millions or tens of millions of dollars. I think the other thing you also have is that every opportunity, or every problem rather, is an opportunity. Meaning, most people, when they see problems come, you have to deal with the problem or it keeps coming back. So you can't ignore the problem. But I think your mindset immediately has to go to what's great about that. So when the problem occurs, you've got to look at it as an opportunity, but go, what's great about that, and where is the opportunity in this problem to take this and flip the script and turn this, lemons into lemonade. And again, I don't mean to be Pollyannish or looking through the world in rose-colored glasses or anything like that. You have to deal with that. But ultimately, there's an opportunity there. And I think one of the gifts that we try to bring to people is you have to see people for who they are. But at the same time, you can also see them for their highest potential and what the potential that they can be. It's the same theme we talked about from high school with Lloyd Jaeger, what the potential that they could be. And you want to believe in people so viscerally that they believe in themselves. It's almost like the work of a reverend. In many ways, it's very, very similar. And so that's sort of one of the things that kind of what I think try to differentiates us, in that it's always about possibility.
So you mentioned, as we started this podcast out, that the recession gives you opportunities to not participate in the recession. So as you kind of look at the landscape as an investor, what are some areas or some businesses that you see are potential ways for us to not participate in the recession?
One of the things you'll also see is that let's take a look at three categories. We'll take a look at businesses. We'll take a look at real estate. We'll take a look at the stock market. Everything is fine. And then when the recession hits, immediately, boom, everything goes to, goes to hell in a handbasket.
Right.
And the idea is the whole mindset shifts of everybody. They all go to a scarcity mentality, and they're holding themselves in. So there may be companies, your competitor, that's doing very well or decently in a good economy. But when things hit the skids, you're going to see that business. Maybe you can buy that business at pennies on the dollar. Maybe that real estate that was unaffordable to you, they'll drop in price because of the raise in interest rates and because of the fact that there's this scarcity mentality, a recession where you see the real estate market tank, and you can buy that piece of real estate that you couldn't afford before that. Maybe the stock market, as an example, last year when Tesla dropped by 44% or Apple dropped by 30%, I don't think a lot of people thought they were bad companies. Some people might have thought they were actually on sale. And so I think that's where the great opportunities occur. I've made the great leaps in my wealth when I had money and people needed money. And I was there, to be able to to buy things, purchase things when other people. And I think much of the time I'm a contrarian, meaning when everybody's buying something, I'm usually selling. When everybody's selling, I'm usually buying. And that's you served me very, very well. And it's hard over a podcast to give any specific advice about any specific company or stock or real estate or other things. But I think also the important thing is it's to put together a plan that's about your core values. It's about your life. It's about what you want to accomplish. It's about your skill sets. It's about what you're passionate about, what you're good at, going forward. And that's different for everybody. So, one of the reasons I have a problem in my industry is that people may wax poetically about something or have, a lot of marble conference tables or, glossy, brochures. But at the end of the day, it's one size fits all. All you are is a nail and they're a hammer just looking to, put you into one of 3 or 4 or 5 boxes. And I think one of the great things about the business we're in and what makes our business so exciting is it's never about my plan. It's always about their plan and how do we create a plan that that makes their life unique and special, as opposed to going into one of four boxes or only going to a couple of areas that you handle. I mean, one of the things I've said for probably 30 years is, for somebody who manages a significant amount of money for people, is I have never told clients that the stock market is a place to create multi-generational wealth. We help people create multi-generational wealth. We think the stock market is more of an inflation-adjusted holding tank. It's about financial balance. But I think that, Bill Gates, if he was on, I would say if Bill Gates was on this podcast with us, well, first of all, your viewership would be a lot higher. But the second would be that he wouldn't say I'm worth $110 billion because of my 401k or my mutual funds. True wealth is investing in your business or some other operating company. It's investing in yourself. It's investing in income producing real estate. It's financing deals. You can also get there, Keith, with divorce and inheritance. But that's how you're seeing people amass great amounts of wealth. And there is a formula to do this, and it works, and there's the technology out there. And so, you just want to help people, create all the opportunity they can.
So when someone gets your book, what do you hope they get out of your book?
I hope that they get a great life. I think that, so many people are worried about, and, one of the things I have a pet peeve is having 5 kids between 17 next week and 25 in November. Is in their generation, they keep talking about work-life balance. And I think that that's a misnomer. I think at the end of the day, why do we need work-life balance? Why don't we just enjoy every part of our life? And so when we're in work mode, we're in business, we're in creation and fascination mode. And then when we do the things we want to do in our personal life, we're in creation and fascination mode. That all we do is develop a life that we get up every day and just roll day after day after day, week after week after week, month after month, year after year, decade after decade, from something we love to something we love even more. And create multi-generational wealth at the same time. And I think that, at least for me, I don't know, we're just, as we get to know each other, is I'm always at my best when I'm serving other people. And so that my mission in life is to improve the lives of everybody we touch. But I believe in the multiplier effect, so that if I can touch people, if I can touch someone today and make their life a little bit better, imagine what they're going to do for the next person down the line, and the next person and the next person. How do we create that multiplier effect where we start to have a world and a community where everybody wants to help each other, everybody wants to support each other, everybody's inspiring, lifting other people up? I'm only one person, you're only one person, but who do we need to collaborate with to help create this world that we want to live in and be around the people we want to live in? That's what I want to do. And I'm also going to tell you, as soon as I get done with this podcast, I'm going to roll to something else that I love, because I love doing this with you.
That's great. I love that. So I'm curious, Mark, what are you most excited about in this season of your life?
I think that I'm always, to stand there for, it's always about CANI to me, CANI. It's about constant and never ending improvement. And I think the one thing that you'll see elite performers do, and I like to think of myself as elite, at least, is that what I see, that the commonality of elite people is they want to be better tomorrow than they are today. And so I think that's, it's never about money. It's never about fame. It's never about any of these other emotions. It's about something that drives you inside to be better and to be able to help more people. And so I think that if I can continue to learn and improve and do, more good work, that'll allow all those things to happen.
It's great. I love to ask my guests this question. What do you want your legacy in the world to be?
That's an awesome question. I think, I think a lot of my life will be judged on how my 5 kids turn out. I think that a lot will have to do that, what kind of father I was, going forward. And I think at the same time, I would love people. I would love people to see that he made a difference in the lives of everybody that he touched. and that not that it works out perfectly every time, but that he always did the right thing. That in a world where people are just so untrusting, that there was somebody that you could trust that was going to do the right thing every time, even when nobody was listening or nobody was watching. And I just I just think your integrity just means so much to you. And I feel like we're sort of in a world that's a precipice where not everybody is learning the right values, the right work ethic, the right things. And I think the idea to us is I'd love to be able to inspire that next generation of folks to say, hey, America's best days are not behind us, they're ahead of us. That there's an opportunity that you can make a difference in the world. And I think so many people feel so powerless right now, and they feel so confused or even so angry, and want to let people know that it can start with just a small group of person. It can start with just you, and you can make a difference in the lives of all the people you touch, and live that way forever.
That's awesome. Anything I haven't asked you, Mark, that we should have covered?
I just want to know how you're raising 6 kids and find all the time to do all the stuff you're doing. How do you do what you do?
It's not work-life balance. It's like you said, is enjoying the moment and realizing that every moment you have is precious. And you just invest in your kids and your life and your work with everything you have. And you, end of the day, you just kind of pray that, like you said, you were able to share enough for the world that you made the world better through the gifts that God gave you.
Well, I just want to tell you this was great, and I just really enjoyed this, and I just want you and all of your viewers to have a blessed day. And it's as I said, I just want to spend more time with you, Keith, and I think you and I should spend more time with people like us, because we're clearly brothers from another mother.
We are.
And
I love that. So, Mark, where can people find your book, The Ultimate Investment, and connect with you on social media?
well, you can find basically anywhere you can buy books, Amazon or any place that there's probably in Books a Million. There's virtually any of the services that are out there. And you can reach us at northeastprivateclientgroup.com. We're in our headquarters is in Roseland, New Jersey, and we'd love to get somebody out a copy of the book or to speak to them. In fact, that was my third book, so I'm and we're working. In fact, later today, I'm starting to work on the fourth book. So
Wow.
it's these things take a while to come, to put together, as you know. So and I don't think we're going to release that till maybe the end of next year, or maybe even the beginning of 2025, because we want it to be better than the third book. We were hoping this third book was better than the second book. So
give us a sneak peek of the title of that one, or the content of that one.
It's so clear. There's 2 or 3 concepts swimming around in my mind, and I'm still ruminating through that. Sometimes there's a discovery process. You have to kind of put it in the laboratory to find out what's there, and it has to be on point and topical. But I think it'll be, hopefully it's something you'll enjoy, and I just appreciate you asking about it.
Well, come back on when it's ready, and let's talk about that one too then.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you so much, and thank you for the time today.
Well, you, Mark, you have a blessed day.
It was fun. You were, by the way, I kind of left. I have a